Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. Continuing on with our series about specializing on a particular muscle group, today's video is the one you've been waiting for, dying for. You've been in a tiny little makeshift tent in the Great War, writing back from the front to grandma, and you're like, we're shelled again today. Also, can't wait to train my calves again on a specialization program. Oh, the good old days. In any case, calf growth programming. Specializing in calves is a curious idea because generally speaking, we have a couple of ways we alter programming in order to specialize on something. The biggest of which is that when you specialize on any one thing, you reduce the training for at least some other things because your body's system only has a certain finite ability to recover, finite ability to train really hard. So if you really want to bring up your quads or something, you got to ease up on all the other stuff just to make room for that sort of thing. And with calves, like with forearms and maybe even like with traps, gee whiz, there's really small systemic component. So there's not a lot of moving stuff around. And as far as the prioritization stuff or specialization, like why would you want to specialize calves? The answer is also quite obvious. It's because you want bigger calves than you have now, and probably bigger calves in the relation to the rest of your body, or at least keeping your calves caught up. You don't want to be the super jack guy who like, oh my God, man, how much do you, oh shit, the hell happened to your lower leg, bro? You're like, crocodile accident. That's the one calf. The other calf's alligator accident. It's really kind of an incident because I attacked the alligator. Oh, he got my calf all right, but I got the fucking rest of him. Every time I close my eyes, I see Flo's goddamn stupid face. In any case, yeah, getting big calves is a bit more straightforward than everything else. So skip around a lot of the formalities here and just cut right to the chase. But just to review the basics of specialization, this is important because people seem to have this thing with calves where they copy and paste the programs that are effective for other muscles instead of deriving the program anew from principles. The big difference here is that if you just copy and paste something, it could be very inappropriate for its task. For example, if you shoot a rifle like this and you copy and paste the exact technique of shooting a rifle, except with a shoulder-mounted rocket grenade launcher, you're going to do this, and the fucking barrel is going to be pointed at your shoulder, and you will shortly have no shoulder. But if you take the principle of firing something, two principles: one, grab it in a way that is possible to aim it well, and two, make sure it doesn't hurt you, you will put the RPG up here instead of down here, okay? So it's a good thing to transfer principles instead of exact templates. That's exactly how I train my chest. I'm just going to train my calves. For a variety of reasons, that doesn't work very well for calves, and that's one of the small reasons why most people walk around with tiny fucking calves. The biggest reason is they just don't fucking bother training them. All right, so real quick, basics of specialization as applied to calves and everything else, of course. First is you want to choose exercises, modalities, and rep ranges that preferentially stimulate the target muscle. Notice, it does not mean shit that worked for other muscles. That's shit that works well for your calves. Prioritization. This is a big one. Train the muscle first or early in all the days in which you train it. Because, you want to be fresh. The thing is, like, almost never is that done for calves. Calves are almost by definition an afterthought. Calves is some shit you do when your fucking annoying training partner is like, you're done, you fucking got a chest pump, bicep pump, you're like, fuck yeah, let's get to the club and fuck at the club, out in the open with people, consenting people. And your training partner's like, I noticed we have calves left over. And you're like, fuck, Poindexter, get out of here. Nobody wants to do calves. But the reality is, if you want the biggest calves possible, you can't have that attitude. You should probably train them first or early. Now, the good news is, if you train your calves first, especially before upper body, they don't really interfere with anything. It's just a checklist item you got to get out of the way. And that's going to be a theme we're going to carry through much of this video. You just got to get it done. Calf training isn't fucking warfare. You don't need to paint your face into fucking camo colors. It just has to get done. But that just has to get done is something a lot of people aren't willing to do. Frequency. Generally speaking, higher frequency works better for specialization. This is especially true of calves in many cases. We'll get to what that means in just a bit. Now, the last point here is the non-specialized training reduction. You really don't have to do a whole lot of that. What you probably don't want to do is train calves before you train like quads or something. And then your calves are super pumped and super fucking tired, and your stability and your limiting factor on like leg press, hack, squat turns into like your calves, which you don't want. But other than that, like really don't have to make a whole lot of adjustments. So when you're constructing your specialized plan, which you are hopefully doing right very now, feverishly taking notes, frequency for calves is going to be pretty high for most people. Now, the reality is frequency is derived like it always is. You give a standard dose of training, 2 to 6 sets in the first session of the first mesocycle, more like closer to 2, 3, or 4 sets. And then you see how long it takes for you to no longer be sore and be very strong again a few days later. And then you train again. And that sort of organically determines how often you train. And then you modulate the volumes to make sure you recover on time all the time. That's definitely the critical principle behind calf training and all training, actually. For most people, they're going to be able to hit their calves pretty hard, get a good pump, get good weakness and everything like that, come back and hit the calves again, 1 to 2 days later, which means a 3 or 4 time a week split is usually pretty sound. Your calves may heal slower than average. Some people, their technique, mind-muscle connection, is so good with calves, and actually they have pretty decent calf genetics. Maybe they didn't know about it as they never trained them. But if you have pretty good calf genetics, on average, you will get more sore and for longer from training calves. So sometimes people can get really good calf training just training their calves hard twice a week. That's totally a thing. But if that's you, that means after each training session, your calves are tired and fucked up and sore for like 2 to 3 days after every session. Not like, oh, I trained calves yesterday. And friend is like, so how are they feeling? You're like, I'd fucking jump up and down 1,000 times today. I can't feel shit. Well, you need to be training calves again, either today or tomorrow. So if you are a low-frequency calf trainer, it's going to be abundantly obvious to you because you're going to get real fucked up from training calves consistently time and time again. Now, on the other end, you may be an individual that trains calves 5 or 6 days per week. That is not a goal. That's not something you want to do necessarily. It's something that you just end up fucking doing, right? I'm going to make the worst analogy maybe I've ever made. That's not true. One of the worst analogies I've ever made. You could ask somebody, maybe a specialist in this field, like a sex therapist or something, like, how many times, per week should I be banging? Like, anyone who actually knows things will never be like, as often as possible. That's fucking ridiculous. That is like, your genitals are worn out, you're not having any more fun, and you're still doing the thing. And you're like, ta-da, here I am. And she's like, hey, you loving this? You're like, no, bitch, I can't even feel my dick. God damn it, get out of here, right? The correct answer is whenever you're good, well, and ready to have some fun again and you're physically capable, hit it. Okay, that's the ideal frequency. It's a very similar thing with calf training and other training as well. You're not trying to train calves 6 times a week because you get some kind of fucking gold star and you get huge calves and everyone's like, oh, I can see by those calves, that's a 6 time a week calf right there. No way. Because if you training good calves means they're sore for 2 or 3 days, 6 times a week training is fucking stupid. And because of how fiber types and genetics for growth and stimulus work, the people that need to train their calves 6 times a week, put another way, the people that can recover ultra rapidly are probably on the slower twitch end of things. They can't leverage their calves to do a lot of mechanical damage. And they may, for other reasons, not being able to provide as high a stimulus as other people. So then there are going to be the ones ready to train calves every day, but they're going to be training calves 6 days a week for results that will be, on average, not as remarkable as someone who trains calves twice a week. And this is one of the biggest reasons that we made these videos for you guys. And there's an intellectually really sort of high watermark here of be careful copying people with big XYZ muscle. Look, if someone has a big calf or some shit like that, I'm definitely curious about what they're doing. I'm not saying, just ignore them and be like, look, it's all genetics and synthol. Although in Jared Feather's case, it is all genetics. Just remember that everyone's different and you have to train your shit to how it's perfect for you. And that means that if someone with amazing genetics trains calves twice a week and they grow like weeds, that doesn't mean like obviously everyone with big calves trains them twice a week. And you guys will see this thing as a model carried over to other muscles. Anytime you look at someone who's training in a certain way and they're on social media and they read magazines and stuff and they watch YouTube, they'll be like, I train like this because all the top bodybuilders do it. Well, all the top bodybuilders have unbelievable genetics in a variety of ways. And you may not have those. And you may, and then great, hey, see you in the pros, right? But you may not, and your training may need to be different. So a lot of us with not such great genetics need to train more frequently, not to make up for our genetics, but simply because we recover faster. And we recover faster because our muscles are smaller. They don't take in as much damage. They're not as hypertrophically sensitive. Thus, you can repeat that process more often. So for calves, remember, the real critical thing is like it's 3 or 4x, 2 or 5x. You could read the slide and be like, what the fuck? What is the frequency? The frequency is fucking hit them hard, see how long they take to recover, and then hit them hard again. That's it. Could be 2, could be 3, could be 4, could be 17 times a week. New program, RP 17x a week, calf training, ... Are you ready? ? You guys like that ad copy? Yeah. I'm kind of like, I used to be an advertising executive at a big company. I don't like to talk about it. But I stood up morally against an ad they were putting out, and it was like a silent exit. So legally, I'm not allowed to talk about it. Maybe I'll talk about it some other time. All right. So in any case, exercise. Multiple angle calf raises means what? Really, it means like on a bunch of different machines, leg press, hack squat calves, calves off the staircase, calves pointed this way, that way. Any kind of variety you can use to spice it up, except for seated calves. Anytime you have your knee bent, your gastroc muscle, the big diamond-shaped calf that you like to have, goes into insufficiency. Okay, it becomes, you actually can't hardly generate any tension at all because it's sort of the muscle collapses in on itself a little bit. It's just contracted already. And it just doesn't do much. The seated calf, or as I like to call it, the double dildo machine, because there's inevitably double dildos for you to hold on to, practicing for your day job. It's a cool machine to train your soleus muscle, which is deep to your calves. And if it's really big, it makes your calves look like cankles. I don't think anyone really ever wants a big soleus. They may think they do, but they probably don't. The soleus also gets trained really well with a straight knee. So it actually, isolating the soleus by itself with a bent leg is just unwise in most cases. You could try it if it works for you, amazing, but it probably won't. Another thing is that machine, it's just great to be able to like sit there relaxed and do this momentum thing and use 800 pounds to impress the girl that's also training calves. And it just doesn't do a whole lot. So I just wouldn't do it. That's my recommendation. If you want to try it, sweet. I don't typically endorse the thing. Set numbers, of course, like everything else, 2 to 6 sets per session for calves. Start out there, see how it goes. Start out in 2 to 3 sets. I wouldn't start with 6. You'll be able to not walk for a long time. And basically, like when you have a pretty good pump and it feels like a workout, you feel tired, your strength is dropping, I would say that's enough for the first session. It's very easy for a first session of calves to get the pump of your life and be all happy about it. But then like for 4 days straight, your calves are hurting like crazy. Just miss out on quality training. You may do more damage than you can actually recover from. So you need to dip into your growth resources to recover, and then you get less growth. So nothing we want there. Here's a big one. Loading and reps. You want to use the repetition ranges to get you the best stimulus to fatigue ratio proxies, which means the most tension in the calves, not the Achilles tendon, okay? The most burn in the calves, big deal, the biggest pump in the calves, biggest perturbation, and so on and so forth. While at the same time, not fucking up your ankle tendons and not hurting your knee or whatever else you're doing. For most people, this is well above 10 repetitions per set, or a load that is in the 20 to 25 rep range, 15 to 25 rep range on the first set, a relatively light load. The thing about calves is the amplitude of the movement is so small, the repetitions don't take very long. So in a set of 5 calf raises, the time spent generating tension is so little that it's not enough of a stimulus for hypertrophy in most cases. And also if you're doing sets of 5 with calves, it just seems to crush the whole fucking area with mechanical tension and not really ever hit that muscle as well as it's supposed to be hit. I remember Arnold saying something about how his calves didn't really start growing until he started using crazy heavy weights. I have a completely opposite view of that in my experience with lots of folks, including myself, is that most people benefit from much higher reps for calves and shorter rests, and that seems to work a lot better than heavy. It might not be the case for you, but take this under advisement and follow your responses. If you get really good calf training with sets of 10, look, I'm not going to, come to your job and kick dicks out of your mouth. That's a Martin Lawrence quote, by the way. That's awesome. But if you have always been doing sets of 5 to 10 for calves and you're wondering why your calves have never grown, and someone's like, do you want to try a set of 20? And you're like, fuck that, that's cardio. You may be missing out on the biggest calf stimulus ever. I used to train calves, sets of 5 to 10 with bent knee and everything. and it did hardly dick. And then I started slowly gravitating and discovering that higher rep sets with straight legs are like fucking crazy. And I started growing like crazy. And now I have like decent sized calves for my frame. They sure match the rest of me. Why? One of my nicknames in high school was Chicken Legs by a good friend of mine. Thanks, Ryan. Fucking asshole. But yeah, so this is one of those like being able to see things from a slightly different perspective and not just doing the traditional shit. All right, progressing through the plan. Once you've built your plan, we'll have a sample plan in a sec that you can work off of if you want. Set numbers, of course, this aligns to strength and soreness. If you don't get sore at all, you train again when your strength is back to being pretty good, recovered to hit another PR. If you do get sore, make sure you're never training through soreness. Once you're sore, you train again. But given that you have a certain frequency, it's the volume you have to control. So if you do 3 sets of calves and you just barely heal on time for the Thursday calf workout, let's say Monday, Thursdays when you train calves, 3 sets of calves here on that Monday, you barely recovered. Next week, don't add any sets. Just stay at 3, right? If you did 4 sets of calves and your calves are still sore on Thursday, do 3 next time. And you won't lose muscle by going from 4 sets to 3 sets. You'll actually grow more because now the volume is more appropriate for what you actually need. If, of course, you're recovering well on time, ahead of time, add a set here and there to make it so that you're recovering much, much closer to just on time. Reps in reserve, start around 3 reps in reserve and work your way up by adding 5 pounds here, 2.5 pounds here, or 1 or 2 reps each week. A lot of folks will get into the situation where they'll say, hey, like for muscles like forearms and calves, maybe even biceps, can't I just go to failure? Do I need to do 3 reps in reserve at the beginning? The research seems to suggest that reps in reserve are better than failure training, especially over the course of a multi-week program. Will you pay less of a cost going to failure from week 1 on all these exercises? Yes, because their systemic fatigue contribution is lower. But you'll still pay more of a cost than you'd have to if you did 3 reps in reserve and then went after that. So you shouldn't look at failure training as when can the excuse of I just want to go to failure be most valid. You should look at failure training as what is the optimal thing for me to be doing to get the most jacked, right? And I guess maybe that's one of the differences that our channel here at RP is maybe different than some of the other channels in the fitness space, is we're going to cut you guys the real deal on what actually fucking works the best. And then we'll let you sort it out how much of that you want to do versus how much fuckery you want to do to have a good time. Because I'm not against a good time. If you want to go to failure all the fucking time in training, even though you know it's not ideal, but you and your fucking Iron Brothers are getting in there and slaying fucking dragons and shit, word up. Just watch where you swing that fucking sword. God damn it. I'm doing hack squats over here, swinging away from me. But yeah, fucking go to failure and all that stuff. But just know that there's a trade-off there between optimality and we'll call it, emotional satisfaction. So just know that, and no, calves should not be trained to failure all the time. Just because something's easier to get away with doesn't mean you should do it, right? You don't carry that logic through the rest of your life, right? Someone's like, hey, you ever tried robbing that old lady that lives across the street? You're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why? Like, it's easy to get away with. You're like, good point. Good point. Fuck that old lady. I mean, I won't literally, but geez, choose your words carefully, Dr. Mike. You could get canceled at any time. That's one of those things where you get to rob the old lady and the first thing you see is just like point blank shotgun to your face. You're like, I thought your Lifeline life alert thing was on and I was coming to check up on you, but I'm shy. So I'm wearing a ski mask and I have a giant potato sack with a money sign on it. So just kill me, Grandma. Fuck it. I've had a good run. All right. Sample plan. What would this calf training, ultra scientific shit look like? Monday, you may do some machine calf raises. A lot of calf machines are very good. Some of the plate loaded ones from back in the day are fucking awesome because you get a baller eccentric stretch. You can really place your feet and they don't slide around. It's really good stuff. Machine calf raises, just 2 sets of 15 to 20 reps, 3 RIR. Remember, this is week 1, really easing into it. And you rest between the sets until you'll feel pretty strong again. So this is slightly heavier, harder work set for sets. So you might rest like a minute or 45 seconds between sets. You'll rest less in the other days. Wednesday, single calf stair dumbbell raises. You'd be stand on a stairway, grab the handle, grab dumbbell, and you just maybe put one of your feet up on a higher step or just take one foot and put it up behind you like this, and then do single calf at a time, switch dumbbell, switch stair, and go right into that other calf, no rest. Why? Because it's not systemically straining. You're not going to get out of breath doing that. And while one of your calves is getting hit, the other one is resting automatically. And calves require very little rest, so it's awesome. This is great. Calf training is, here's a huge benefit. I wasn't going to mention this. It's good to mention. Scientifically optimal, quote unquote, really good calf training doesn't have to take a long time because the rest intervals are so small and because you ever really need one exercise for calves per day to get the job done. Honestly, if you have like 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, maybe 10, 3 or 4 times a week, you can maximally stimulate your calves such that doing any more doesn't add anything. I mean, that's the fucking hilarious irony behind calf training and tons of guys at the gym having small calves is I think a lot of them think, oh man, calves, that's another muscle I have to fucking train and I hate training it. Fuck it. It's going to take forever. It's not. It's really quite easy, right? Single stair calf raise. And then Friday, you get on the leg press, slide your feet down, turn it into a calf raise, and you do myo reps. 4 sets of 20 to 25 reps on the first set, and then all the reps drop off after. Next set is when the lactate clears and the pain is just barely gone, which a lot of times will get you back into that 5 to 10 rep range for all the successive sets, but also it only takes like 5 or 10 seconds for that to happen. So really calf training is like blowtorching the fuck out of your calves for 5 to 10 minutes and then just fucking off. It's really, you don't have to commit a ton of time. Like that's not like that for all the other muscles. Can you imagine someone's like, it's easy to bring up your quads, just 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week, and you'll have huge quads. You're like, that's 2 of my hack squat warm-ups. The fuck out of here. All right. Now that's week 1. You'll notice 2 sets of shit, 2 sets, 4 sets, 6 sets, 6 sets, 7 sets. It's very common to get between 5 and 8 sets with the same exercise for calves. The tail end of the week are very good at recovering. You need to squeeze out more adaptation there. Of course, everything's at 0 reps in reserve. Calf training is one of these motherfuckers that's tricky because there are so many ways to cheat in calves. You bend your knees a little more, use a little more oomph, a little more hop, even lift your traps a bit on the one of the calf raise machines that has the pads here and here. You kind of do one of these, you sort of got yourself a calf raise. So just be honest, go slow, go for that eccentric control, that super stretch depth. We have other videos on calf training technique that'll help you out. And really just be honest of like, if I try the next repetition, will it be the kind of repetition that I can film, put on social media, and people won't make fun of me and be like, what the fuck was that? If the answer is yes, do it. There's another rep. If the answer is, just stop. You just get more reps on the next set. No big deal. All right. How long can you specialize on your calves for? Well, honestly, as long as you like, as long as every 3 or 4 mesocycles, you take a 2-week active rest phase or a 4-week low volume phase where you barely train your calves at all. You just train them so that they don't get any smaller. And then you can actually blast your calves all the fucking time. I mean, psychologically, it's probably a good idea every once a year or once every 2 years to take a few months of just maintenance calf training. And that's super easy to do. You just train your calves with like 2 to 4 sets, 2 times per week. And they won't go anywhere. They won't get any smaller unless you do it in a fat loss phase, and then you have to train them hard. But if you do that in a mass gain phase or a maintenance phase, no big deal. And then you can sort of like get your passion for calf training back, if there is such a thing at all. All right. That's all good stuff. Thanks, Dr. Mike. This has been fun. But what about some other shit? I want free shit, goddammit. I came on this channel. I even hit subscribe. So what do I get? Well, here's the thing. Exercise video library, all the links are below, by the way, is free. So you can look up a calf exercises and see how Jared Feather does them. And God damn it, my calves look like that? No, the answer is they almost certainly won't, but they look bigger than they do now, which is nice. Muscle group training guide, huge detail, all about calves, all about how to train them. So if you really want the super broken down version of this for psychotic people that live in their basement or are obsessed with exercise and have no friends, get on that shit. That's free. Hypertrophy Made Simple videos are free. If you're like, what the fuck is SFR and all that stuff, go look those up. They're right in the description. It's an awesome playlist. Hypertrophy book. It's not titled Hypertrophy book, but damn close. Scientific Principles of Hypertrophy Training. If you are really nerdy and curious about the background, remember I talked about the principles of training and how you transfer principles, not exact processes. That's the book for you. Now it costs some money, not a ton, but I promise it's packed full of value. And every now and again, when you read the book, little ads for cologne fall out, and you can smell them. Scott, the video guy, do you remember magazines used to have cologne ads where they're perfume and cologne?
You peel back the little layer.
You peel back the layer and then you smell it, and it always smells so goddamn good. And then you got possibly an erection, and then you tried to tell yourself in your head that it didn't matter if it was the men's cologne or the female perfume that got you feeling like that. Right. It's just the good smell, and who am I to judge myself? If you guys don't know what we're talking about, you're younger, much younger, or a normal human being that didn't steal people's magazines to smell the perfume. Anyway, lastly, if you want to build yourself a calf program or an anything program, you can try out our custom training templates. The link's down there. It's not free, but it's fucking pretty cheap. And it gives you an awesome program you can reuse and reuse and reuse as many times as you're interested in. It's just good stuff. You know, it's good stuff. And get on there and get you one of them shits. Get you sorted so that if you and I ever see each other in the street, I'll notice that you're jacked and I'll be like, hey. And you'll be like, hey, custom training template. Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. See you next time. I have to go train calves for the 16th workout of the week. That's right. We're back to that. See you next time.